Earlier in the course, we talked about the spectrum of student backgrounds and skills and the demographics of disability in the United States. To obtain a perspective from actual students who use assistive technology, we conducted an interview with Bill and Amelia, who have been students in online courses here at the University of Colorado Boulder. Both use a device called a screen reader to convert text-based and text-labeled objects from the computer into voice output. If you don't know what a screen reader is, don't worry. We will be demonstrating the use of a screen reader in an upcoming video. Bill is a graduate student in computer science and has an undergraduate degree from Lewis and Clark College. Amelia graduated with a master's degree from the University of Colorado Boulder. We began our discussion asking about features and factors that make an online course and online course materials accessible or inaccessible. I suggest paying particular attention to the issue of image-only PDFs and the discussion on the importance of course organization and consistency in the presentation of online course materials. Switching over to sort of your experience in participating in either online courses or accessing online course materials, what's been your experience in that area? We'll start with we could start with Bill, and how does it compare to access issues in a face-to-face course?
So obviously it depends on the professor on the accessibility of the materials. In the computer science department, we use an open source course management system called Moodle, and that platform is actually fairly well built and accessible. Often faculty will have us using the online forums and will post readings to that site. Often there are PDFs, and PDFs vary on their accessibility to being just a scan image, which is completely useless without OCR, to PDFs that are very well formed and easy to use.
But then, even when you have things in electronic format, it varies on how accessible they are. So, like Bill said, you can have a PDF that's just an image. You can also, sometimes they'll do something like, recently took a MOOC that had a bunch of reading from Plato and Kierkegaard. So these are all, things are out there, public access, copyright stuff is no longer an issue, but they're so it's all over the internet in a bunch of different forms, but they're posting it through Google Books, and that is not accessible. So, so I'm looking at, okay, what are they having you read by Plato? I'm Googling it and I'm finding it somewhere else. Is kind of how I'm working around that. But just because it's electronic doesn't mean that it's accessible.
So we learned the accessibility of electronic materials vary. For example, image-only PDF files are inaccessible for assistive technology. We'll go over how to recognize and address inaccessible PDF files in a later video. Also, even when materials are originally accessible, putting them in an inaccessible platform makes them inaccessible. So when using a platform to share your content, like Google Books, look into the accessibility of the service before implementing it in your course.
Another thing that I found with online courses is that it depends on the instructor's ability to organize the material. It's not useful to anyone when the instructor just takes everything from the whole course and just vomits it onto the whatever platform they're using, because then you have readings and quizzes and assignments just all together, not split up by week or by module, not organized. That's hard for everybody to go through and find what they're looking for.
So when someone doesn't follow, just basic best practices or good practices for setting up a course, how much more work does that make for you?
It's very time consuming to, so you're looking at the syllabus, you're saying, which articles am I supposed to read this week? Oh, there are, 15 different articles that I'm supposed to read. I now have to go into this place where there are, links to 200 different documents, and I have to find each one of these documents. And then I might be doing like a word search for a particular word, or I might be, for the author's name, hopefully some of those things can help me find it. If I can't do any of that, then I wind up going through document by document. Is this the one I'm looking for? No. Is this the one I'm looking for? And you're doing it every single time you go to do work. So it's just, you're taking energy and enthusiasm and that sort of thing, could have gone towards the content and the course and that sort of thing, and you're wasting it on just what could have been handled, managed with really basic organization.
Have you had a similar experience like that, Bill? Or you had mentioned that you have not taken that many, full-fledged online courses, but you have access to online material.
I actually did come across that in a recent course. Like Amelia said, the readings were just vomited onto the course management platform. They weren't organized into modules, they weren't sorted by date, and so when they'd post them, they wouldn't post them at the beginning of the semester, all of them. They'd post them as like the day or two before they assigned them, but they would appear anywhere in the list, sometimes at the bottom, sometimes in the middle. You can never tell exactly where they might post them. And sometimes they used obscure file names, so it wasn't clear exactly what they had in mind when they assigned the reading.
Let's reiterate some key takeaways from this segment of the interview. A poorly organized course is ineffective for everyone and also undermines accessibility. Don't make students guess where to find course materials. Be consistent and predictable in the delivery of course items. Use semantic file names. Give names to files that have meaning to the students and that can be understood out of context. So it seems like that a lot of what makes things accessible is basic organization and just naming things semantically. Mm-hmm. So kind of it's more low tech than you might imagine when first considering it.
And that's just the first layer, is being able to, is what we consider the usability aspect of it, is how easy is it to use. And once you find your documents, then there's the second layer of accessibility. Can I download this file, or can I access the material?
In the lessons and modules that follow, we'll talk in more detail about increasing the usability and accessibility of your course, including the accessibility of course documents. Remember, both organization and accessibility are crucial.